And we are live. Welcome to this week's Night Talk. I'm your host, Josef Reisz, and today we are talking about a really great topic that is dear and near to my heart. How can we go from cold calling to hot prospecting, especially on LinkedIn, especially with all the technology that we have at hand? Everything that can help us get closer to our prospects and initiate a conversation. That's what we are talking about today. And I have prepared something for you, and I'll walk you through that step by step. It's 2 minutes past 6. We'll start right now, and I'm going to show you what you can do to watch the replay in just a minute. Let me just pull that up and let's see if I can. There it is. Fabulous. So we're live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and without further ado, we're going to talk today how we can go from cold calling to hot prospecting. Why should we do that? Why cold calling is not the ideal methodology with prospecting that gives us the best ROI that we can get. We're not bashing cold calling at all. I know that there are a lot of sales organizations still dependent on cold calling, but what I am doing right now, today and tonight, is to give you an alternative how you can do things differently in order to stand out from everyone else. Because if everyone else is doing cold calling and you're number 25 cold caller to the decision maker, that doesn't help us, our brand, our commission, our revenue doesn't really help at all. So we need to do things slightly differently, and that's what we are here for tonight. So let me walk you through it. Here's one thing I would like you to have right now. If you can't stay for the whole session, which will be roughly around 40 minutes or so, go to honeycombagency.co.uk/replays. And just fill in your details. I think we're just asking for your email address, and then automatically we're going to send you the replay of today into your inbox. So if you can't stay with me for whatever reason, go there and get your replay. This will be the only time where we put that out for free, so for a certain period of time, and then that goes into our content hub and content vault in the background and won't be available again. I am all about two things: filling the pipeline and closing the pipeline. And these two things go so much together. And what we do today is have a look at filling the pipeline with certain strategies that help you prospect better and get better results and get better ROI. Next week, same day, same time, I will talk about closing the pipeline. You might have seen that we've put out a sales script, which is the 83,000 sales script, as we call it. And I'll walk you through that sales script next week, step by step. Why? Well, because it's so important for us to not only fill the pipeline, but also to close the pipeline. And that sales script is based on the probing sales framework. Our customers and our clients have tremendous success with it and tremendous results. So I'll do that for you next week, Tuesday, same time. But not tonight. Tonight, the agenda is slightly different. So first, we have a look at traditional lead generation strategies. You know, we probably know all of them, but that's fine. We have to have a look at them to figure out why are these things not working anymore as they did in the past. The second point is we look at buyer-centric prospecting strategies that are based around the buyer, how buyers buy, how buyer become aware of us as the vendor. And then lastly, I'll walk you through our exact framework that we use at HoneyComb, at SalesNation, and also the clients that we work with. We implement that framework. So I'll walk you through that and explain why it works. So let's start with traditional prospecting, lead generation strategies. And I'm focusing on the sales side here, not on the marketing side here, right? So prospecting traditionally comes from a place of, well, we need to find data. We have our ICP, maybe we drafted that quite clearly. But then how do we get in touch with them? Where do we find them? How can we do that? And traditionally, it all starts with buying data from places like ZoomInfo or Lusher or anywhere else to get the phone numbers and the mobile numbers of our decision makers. Also to get the email address, and then what we do with the data, or what we used to do with the data traditionally, is put them in a cold calling sequence or in a cold email campaign, and then hope for the best, basically. With today's technology and with today's social networks, we can do a way better job at prospecting and generating leads and generating demand than 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And that's so exciting. And still, a lot of sales strategies base their success and their ROI on cold calling, on cold emailing campaigns. And that is so sad to see, because there are better ways of doing them. That's why I do all these night talks and all these training programs that we do, because there are better ways. And I want you to know about these better ways of how you can do your job better, of how you can form and build and grow your team better if you're in sales management, and how we can go from there in a very specific way. And several reasons as to why these traditional strategies don't work. We have put together, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, something that we called a social selling report. It's available for free on our website. And we just collected data about how traditional sales is going about prospecting. And these are just a few random numbers here that we found that kind of gives us the right material to say that what has worked in the past is not working anymore. Just a couple of points here. 0.3%, that's a success rate of cold calls to appointment setting. 90% of decision makers said they never respond to cold calls. And back in the day, last year, it took an average of 18 calls or dials to actually connect with someone who does not expect our call. So all of these things, and there is more data in that report, pages and pages of data that support the theory that things can be done better, because we don't want to settle for a success rate or conversion rate as we see them right here. So I would not want our team, our clients, or you to settle for 0.3%. I know it might differ. You might have more, but the bottom line is there is a better way of doing that. So let's have a look at that better way and how we can implement that in the day-to-day business. The question always is around ROI. What's the best ROI? What do I do that brings and can justify the strategy that we are doing? What's the ROI of what we're doing right now, and how can we improve the ROI? And also in terms of prospecting, we need to think about things like scalability, and do the results justify what we are doing? In terms of cold calling, cold emailing, there is technology in the background that can help us, but basically scalability comes from hiring more SDRs, from hiring more sales reps that do more dials every day. So it's not really scalable in terms of hands off. We can scale it on a technology level to a certain degree, yes, but not fully. So that is one thing that we have to keep in mind when we think about different strategies and other strategies. And then we have, of course, these modern strategies that we've all heard about. And I mentioned the social selling report. Social selling is part of a modern strategy. It's about building relationships, adding value, putting out content, commenting on your ICP's posts if they put out posts. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with any of that. The only thing I would say is mostly manual work, right? So where does that leave us in terms of scalability? And if you think about it, all these strategies are highly marketing focused, and most of them are long-term strategies. So you build a brand, right? You build the content, you put it out there, SEO, ads, and so forth. So you generate demand, and that takes a long time. So we're in sales, we're hungry for leads that are a good fit, that have been pre-qualified. We don't want to waste our time too much on all these things that actually marketing should be doing, right? Because we just need to work out a way how we can do the things that are expected of us in the most productive way, right? So how can we increase the ROI? And if we're on the sales management level, that's where the strategy comes in place, right? I'm not even talking about sales reps or SDRs who are put in a position being told what to do and can't really change much of the strategy. That's on the management level. That's on the leadership level. So that's where we need to turn some screws to make it easier for the whole sales organization and for the business and the brand to get that competitive edge that we are looking for in a scalable way, in a predictable way. So all these modern strategies are great, but just take it with a pinch of salt. Everything that you hear, take it with a pinch of salt. So what we are looking for is actually a scalable framework that produces consistent and predictable results, that uplifts both the scalability and the results at the same time. The results per individual sales rep, the results per sales organization, and of course the business results as well. And how can we scale it in a way that we are not forced to having to hire more people, but to turn the screw individually and maximize the productivity for each individual sales rep, for everybody working in sales, for every task, every activity that is done per day. That's the framework that we are looking for. Let me rewind the whole thing, why we base that framework on LinkedIn. So the question always is, why are people on LinkedIn? And on the surface, LinkedIn is just another social network. That's fine. People say they are on LinkedIn to build relationships, to build their network, to build their brand, blah, blah, blah. To me, that is absolutely fair enough. No discussion about that. You can do that. But is that really the true reason why you're on LinkedIn, right? You could do that on Instagram. You could do that anywhere else. But the USP that LinkedIn has is a professional business network. And so here's how I go about it. I'm on LinkedIn to do business. Every DM I send out, every connection that I make, I want to do business with that person. And doing business doesn't necessarily mean to sell something or to pitch something, right? I'm on LinkedIn to do business, to grow my business, and I want to help other people do the same. We're in sales training, we do sales education. If you're in cybersecurity, you want more people to have a safe and secure IT infrastructure. That's why you're on LinkedIn. You want them to give you their money instead of someone else, instead of your competitor, which is fair enough. It's a professional business network. And that is the attitude that we should be having. We should not be afraid to do business on LinkedIn and to be very straightforward with it. And several reasons as to why. we've done so many LinkedIn prospecting training programs now. One of the things is you have access to CEOs on LinkedIn, to the biggest companies in the world. You have access, right? And if they accept your invite, that is the first step. You got your foot in the door, and that's all we want. It's a door opener. LinkedIn is a door opener to the companies that we want to sell into, to the decision makers we want to talk to or initiate a conversation. And all that technology and all that mindset is absolutely mind-blowing, because it makes things so easy for us in sales. If we are not forced and pushed to do cold calling, to scrape LinkedIn and get on the call to do cold calls, because we can do it in a far better way. So underlying reasons why people are on LinkedIn, I said, is to do business, right? It's business, it's money, it's influence, it's revenue, lead generation, demand generation, sales. And it's the perfect platform because it's a professional business platform. People tend to forget that. So we can utilize that, right? We can utilize the underlying reason why LinkedIn exists. It's to make you money. It's to make other people money. It's to help you make other people more money. You know, it's simple. It's so simple. TikTok doesn't do that. Instagram doesn't do that. Facebook doesn't do that. So how do most brands or businesses use LinkedIn? Well, two sides of the story, or two sides of the scale. Most of them are either too pushy or too salesy, or the extreme opposite. They are too hoochie coochie and too marketing focused and too, here's my content, I want to add value. We don't want neither. We don't want to be too salesy and too pushy. We don't want to be too hoochie coochie and fluffy puffy. We want to be right in the middle. We want to convey our message of the services that we provide and put that in front of the right people proactively. Because if you depend on LinkedIn algorithms alone, that doesn't work. Not alone, right? So we need to be proactive. That's what prospecting is all about. In an ethical way. Every salesperson that hears that word ethical either leaves the room or starts an argument with me. But actually, no, it's really simple. Just, we communicate on an eye-to-eye level from human to human. That's what LinkedIn is, just the platform. On the other side, there's always a human being, right? So two extremes. We don't want either. We want to be in the middle. We want to have a great balance there. So the right balance between value, content, sales, marketing, and promotion. A lot of brands miss out on promotion, especially solopreneurs, especially startups, especially even if you go into SMBs. The promotion side of it is either inflated or the providing value side is inflated, right? But you need both, right? You can add as much value as possible. If nobody knows about your products and your services and your pricing and where is the buy button, you won't make a sale. So we need the balance of both. We want to provide value to a certain degree. We want to provide content because that helps us long-term with establishing our authority and credibility. We want to do sales, marketing, and promoting what we have. Obscurity kills businesses. Obscurity kills sales. If you're not in front of the right audience with the right message at the right time, your sales is dead. Your targets are dead. Your quota is dead. Your business is dead. So we need to balance all of that, right? We don't want to be obscured by a competitor of which we know they do, just half of what we do, but they have, 100% more market. And we don't want that. So what do? We want to get our products in front of the right audience. That's it. Our products, our message in front of the right audience. If the timing is right, the better. I'll talk about that in just a minute. So we just rethink prospecting here, right? From, as we said, from cold calling to hot prospecting. There needs to be some friction so that we can go from one to another. And let's have a look at that. Let's go from cold calling to hot prospecting. What does that entail? What does that mean for us as a sales organization, as a sales rep, as a sales manager, or even as a CEO who is maybe not into these nitty-gritty things, or we just worry about the cash flow, the growth, and so on. So there are certain things that we can do to go from cold to hot. Cold, warm, hot. And this is the exact framework that we use every single time. That's also the exact framework that we show other sales teams and our clients. And what we do then is, of course, we tailor these strategies and this framework to our client sector, to the stage that they're in, to their ICP. We play around a lot with the messaging to get the messaging right and so on. So this is the framework that we take and then turn it into a bespoke solution. And you can do that too. I'll walk you through that right now. So we start with cold. Everything starts with cold, right? Outbound prospecting always starts with cold. Two things that we need: the target account and the ICP. So which companies do we want to sell into, and who is the decision maker or the decision makers, plural, in that organization? And if you go to honeycombagency.co.uk, go to the free section, we have a target account matrix, a buyer matrix, all for free. So if you need help doing, designing, or drafting any of that, just go to the free section, free resources on our website. You can download it for free. So once we are absolutely razor sharp and precise with the companies that we want to target and the decision makers inside these companies, and by the way, we go very, very deep in this template, in this matrix. We not only look at things like headcount, revenue, location, all the things. We also go into the psychographics. We go into the values. We go into purchase decision prohibitors, into purchase decision facilitators. All of these criteria that we can find that helps us be absolutely precise with who it is we're targeting and who it is we want to talk to. We need to be as precise as possible. And that's what we do. And we start every campaign from fresh, from cold. And we utilize tools like Crunchbase. We utilize tools like the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is absolutely brilliant and very, very good to do that. But there are other tools as well that you can utilize and really break down who it is that you need to talk to, who it is that you need to connect to. So that's why we start. And then we go on. The next step would be the LinkedIn invite, right? So we know that they're on LinkedIn. In most cases, there are, right? And then we go on and connect with them. Now, I know that a lot of word is out there that says you need to connect with them. Before you connect with them, go to their posts, comment on it, like, do some, endorse them for skills and blah, 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 blah. In most cases, it's unnecessary. You do not have to do that. Again, that would be manual work that you can't scale, at least not in a sensible way. But we do have strategies and a framework for the LinkedIn invites as well. Do you send a note? Yes or no? If yes, what does the note say? Stuff like that that could prevent someone from accepting your invite. And the only goal that we have is for someone to accept our invite. If we're a business development rep or sales rep and we need to connect upwards to a head of IT or to a C-level executive, the only goal that we have is for them to accept our invite, nothing else. That's the first step. So we need to be clever about it. We can't go in and pitch. So we need to be a little bit clever about it. That's what sets us apart, what sets you apart from the traditional sales strategies that are out there, and that loads and loads of brands are still doing, and that does nothing for them to stand out from their competition. So LinkedIn invite, that is still on the cold side because there is no interaction prior to that. Our goal is to get the invite accepted, period, up until that point. Once we got that accepted, turns into a warm lead, of course, turns into a warm prospect. So the pipeline is kind of heating up a little bit, or is warming up a little bit. And then what we found works absolutely brilliantly and very well is a 2-channel prospecting strategy. What do I mean by that? Well, we started on LinkedIn. That's absolutely fine. That is the channel that our prospect allowed us to communicate with them on. That is the channel. We send an invite on LinkedIn, they accept it, perfect. Permission granted, permission given for us to initiate the conversation on LinkedIn. Now, the main channel for us in that case is always LinkedIn, but we also have a fallback channel for cross-communication. If it's a CEO, they won't look at their LinkedIn every single day. They won't post every day. So if you come across strategies that involve commenting on your ICP's posts, if you have a CEO that hasn't posted anything in 90 days, Godspeed and good luck. That's exactly our framework, where our framework kicks in, because we don't need them to post anything and still we get accepted and still we get meetings booked with them. That's the difference. So 2 channels. First channel, the main channel, is LinkedIn because they allowed us to get in touch with them there. And then, of course, LinkedIn provides us with additional information on their profile, for example, email or phone number. We never touch the phone number. We're not a cold caller, right? If we want to convey our USP as a brand, as a vendor, as a business that stands out from everybody else, we don't do cold calling, but we get the email address. And in most cases, it's their personal email address. That's an added value for us. But again, that is just the fallback. We don't put them in any sequence. It doesn't work that way. We found a better way, right? So the main channel will always be LinkedIn. And then, of course, we have the outreach messaging framework, right? We need to get in touch with them, right? So they accepted our invite. And basically what that means for us is they've given us permission to get in touch. Why else would they accept our invite? They want us to initiate a conversation. That is the best position to be in. The best position to be in. If they don't want to talk, they would not accept our invite. And that's fine. And that happens, right? And sometimes you'll have a delay of maybe 4 weeks until all of a sudden you have 50 new connections. And when did I send that invite? I have no idea. But still, once we go into the nitty-gritty things, getting the invite accepted is a major step. That gets us from cold to warm. That gives us the permission to initiate a conversation. That does not give the permission to pitch. That's why the outreach message needs to be absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. So, and there are typically, and I'll say that because I see that so often every day in my LinkedIn inbox. I don't know where this playbook is coming from, but everybody is using the same playbook. If you're watching this, don't, right? I'll talk you through it right now, what I typically see. So the messaging has to be absolutely spot on. We only have one shot at this initially, right? And since we don't put them into any sequence, we can only ask and get in touch with them after a certain period of time has passed between our messages, right? And what has worked really well for us are the 3 types of ask. So the outreach message will be one of the 3 types of an ask. And I'll show you what I mean by ask right now. And so the only goal that we have, we managed to get our invite accepted. That was goal number 1. Now the goal number 2 is very simple. We don't overcomplicate things because we want results. We want results quickly. We don't overthink. We don't overcomplicate. We need a response. Any response is good. Yes or no? Perfect. And that response is based on the message that we put out there, how we approach them. As long as we have a response from the prospect, we've done our job. And you will see that you will get more no's than yeses. Of course, that's prospecting, that's sales. We'll always get more no's than yeses. But that does not matter, because every no gets you closer to the yes and faster to the yes. That's what we need. That's why this framework is scalable, as opposed to everything else that you've seen that is more long-term, which you should also do. But if we're in a position where we need to close or fill the pipeline right now, this month or this quarter, right, we don't have much time at hand, right? So we need to fall back to something that we know is replicable and is scalable. This is. So the second goal is to get the prospect to respond, either with a yes or a no. Doesn't matter, right? Now, the typical cold outreach that I see in my inbox, but also in my email, and I'll walk you through it. And please, this is a big no-no. It's just for educational purposes only. Don't steal any of that. Don't do any of that. Please don't. Typical cold outreach that I get is via InMail. That is in, I would say 90% of the cases, it's just wasted money and resources. I've rarely seen an InMail campaign really get the results and the ROI. Then you have likes and comments and things or people pretending to be personal and interested in someone, but they're actually not. Here comes the ethical part into the game as well. So I don't like that. If you like one of my posts just to get me into a sales conversation, I'm gone. Right? Guys, girls, just remember, it's human to human. You see through bullshit. I see through bullshit. The CEO will see through bullshit. So let's make it as honest and authentic as we can. And then I mentioned this playbook. I don't know where that is coming from, but it's always the same template. It's always the same. It's like copy and paste. I don't understand that. So it starts with a cringy subject line. So either it's an email, you have a subject line, or they just scrape my data and send me an email, which is fine. I don't mind. It goes into spam anyway. So that's their playbook. A cringy subject line, trying to tie in a trigger event of relevance, trying to get rapport by saying we help companies like yours. Don't know. Then we have the pitch disguised as a value proposition, which is not a value proposition. It's just plain pitch. It's just sales. Nobody's interested in that. Unless there's an exception. The timing is absolutely right. They're in dire need of something, and you come along and provide that something. But what are the chances of that happening on a predictable, recurring manner. It's very slim. But I'm not saying it doesn't work. All I'm saying is the ROI that you get, the productivity that you get out of that is extremely low. Then you have some kind of CTA. Let's hop on a call on Monday. Is Monday better or Tuesday? And then they hope for the best, and that's their email. And if you're unlucky, you get put into an email sequence which you never signed up for, and that's not good. Why is that not good? Well, it does not distinguish the salesperson or the brand from their competitor. It is like, it's leveled out. You don't have a competitive edge. So I just wanted to show you that what lands in my inbox. So please don't do that. Ignore that. Don't copy and paste any of that. Again, let's have a look at how we go from cold to hot. And especially I want to talk about the outreach messaging here, because that's where we really make it or break it. Yeah. So let's have a look at that. As I said, there are 3 types of ask. And the absolutely exciting thing is about that, there is no need to pitch. We are not being salesy. It is a highly effective method because it works on certain psychology and psychological layers of a human being that provokes a response in most cases. Well, I'm not saying that this will work 100%, but we get as close to 100% as we can be. Sometimes it just takes a while for them to respond. Sometimes they do never respond if it doesn't resonate with them, with the prospect. But that's absolutely fine, right? Our goal is to get a response. Either yes, either no, either maybe, either whatever it is. As long as they respond, that is good. That is something that we can work with. And so the 3 types of ask that we incorporated in our prospecting framework and in our strategy that works extremely well is the direct ask, the indirect ask, and the offer to reciprocate. And the indirect ask, I'll start with that. The indirect ask is one of the most underutilized ask that you can imagine. Almost no sales rep, no sales strategy incorporates an indirect ask. Although this is the one that brings you the results because nobody else is doing that and is on such a deep human level interactively that it's almost impossible to screw that one up. Let's have a look. So questions are really simple, right? The direct ask is, can you help me? The indirect ask is, who do you know who can help me? And the offer to reciprocate is very, very simple. How can I help you? That's the 3 questions. There's nothing to do with sales. It's just human interaction. It's just how we as humans interact. And again, sales boils down to 2 humans talking to each other. That's it. So if we remember to do that instead of pitching, that alone increases our chances of getting a response. A direct ask, for example, let's go through a couple of examples. A direct ask could be, in our case, we do sales training, slightly different, or I say radically different from the traditional sales training. We would ask something like a direct ask like, does your business have capacity to close more contracts next quarter? No, we're fully booked. Okay, fine, perfect. That's a no, that's a response. Or, well, yes, we do, but we're all sorted. We don't need sales training. Okay, well, that is something that we can work with, right? A response is a good response. It only depends on how we react to that response and how we work with that response. But that's a perfectly fine direct ask. You could also ask if it's more on the SDR or BDR level, what would you need to crush your targets every month next quarter? Dear sales rep. That's a direct ask. If you're in cybersecurity, one of the things you could ask directly is something along the lines of, have you experienced any business critical disruptions due to unexpected downtimes in the past 6 months? Just open the conversation. No, we're all good. We're absolutely fine. Yeah, not business critical, but we did have some disruptions. Oh, really? Tell me more. It's just to get the foot in the door, and these questions are so human, but business related as well. And it's just straightforward. And if you connect with someone who is extremely busy in their day-to-day job, they appreciate a straightforward question, a DM that is no longer than a text you would send to your partner, your husband, your girlfriend, whatever it is. Just keep it straight, simple, and short. What else do we have? I said it before, the indirect ask is the most powerful way to get a foot in the door. And we ran a campaign just recently, a month ago, and we had such a great response rate, and the success rate was absolutely brilliant. So the indirect ask is absolutely underutilized, and every time you use that, you set yourself apart from everyone else, because you're not pitching anything. You're not even asking your prospect, do you have that pain? Do you have that challenge? Or you do it in a completely different way, right? You say something like, well, I'm looking to speak to sales teams right now who need to accelerate their sales cycles and close more deals in Q3. Do you know anyone? I would appreciate an introduction. What that does is actually, we're kind of sneaky in a way, or cheeky in a way, because we point out the pains, the challenges that we solve. And we ask someone else, if you know a business, if you know someone who's struggling with that right now in your network, could you do me a favor and make an introduction? That works absolutely brilliantly. Why? It works even better. It works two ways. Number one, a lot of them say, yeah, you know what? I think there is someone. On the other side, you can get responses like, well, we want to close more deals in Q3. What is it that you do? And that puts you in a position that you're not pitchy, you're not salesy, you're utilizing the nature of LinkedIn and the human nature of networking in your prospecting. And I tell you, if you utilize these indirect asks, just run a campaign and measure. Don't believe me, don't trust me, We've got enough data to back that up, but I want you to try it and tell me if it worked for you or not. I know it works, right? But nonetheless, you shouldn't trust me. Just, take it and run a campaign. Run a campaign. That's it. And again, what's our goal here? Our goal is very simple. It's to get a response. Yes or no. That's it. It's very simple. We don't have to overthink things. We have to, if every time I see these the pitches and they're trying, the text is like, oh, we do this and that, and then we had a growth and up, blah blah blah. It's all about them. It has nothing to do with me. And that is not how you would start a conversation. That is not how you would go out to a networking event and get to know someone. At a networking event, what do? Hi, my name is Josef. I do sales training. What do you do? Oh, you're in B2B SaaS. Oh, that's interesting. Just get the conversation going. And most sales strategies and most prospecting templates and strategies, they want too much too early, right? If you asked for too much too early, you're gone. You cannot have a conversation that you were looking for. And that is what we are interested in, right? To initiate a conversation, to have a conversation. Because even if it's not the right time now, right? If we have an interaction with a potential prospect that is a good fit from our point of view, they will keep us in the back of their minds. They will see us on LinkedIn more often, especially if we keep in touch and check in, right? So just simple networking, human nature, and not pitching. So these are the things that we do wholeheartedly because they work. They just work. And they work better than cold calling, at least in the cases that we've seen from our experience and from the results that we've seen at our clients. No doubt about that. If it works for you, the only thing to find that out is if you take all of the things that we discussed today and just give it a try tomorrow. Set up a campaign, measure, and then let me know. So to recap, number one is stop doing what everybody else is doing, right? Burn this playbook. I don't know where it came from, but it's like very persistent. Let's burn that playbook. We need to have a razor sharp ICP and target account matrix. Again, go to our free resources, download it for free if you need help with that. We need to warm up the prospect. Well, not need to, but we want to, because we get better results out of it. There are 3 types of ask that we can utilize that each one of them are so underutilized in the prospecting that everybody else does, that when we use it and apply it, that alone makes us stand out from our competitor. They probably dial 18 times and still haven't talked to the decision maker. But we need to dial. Good luck with that. Hello, GDPR. And we only have one goal. The goal is to trigger a response. Doesn't matter what the response is. Yes, no, bugger off, who the hell are you? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. But it's not a cold outreach because they accepted our invite and they invited us and granted us permission to initiate the conversation. That is the big difference. That is the big difference. And that automatically increases the chances and the likelihood of good results and better results. There is no need to pitch for us. There's no need to cold call. There's no need to put prospects in endless unsolicited email sequences. No, we don't do that. We have 2 channels, one main channel, one fallback channel, and that's it. If they do not respond, that's what I'm very bullish about that. We only get in touch with them once a quarter. If they don't reply, once a quarter. And we change the ask, of course. We change the ask. But if they don't reply, fine, leave it. And I've seen these unsolicited emails and the sequences that people are being put in, and that just annoys people. A lot of prospects are annoyed, and most of them just land in spam. So what's the use? What's the ROI of sending out spam emails? I don't know. And again, the bottom line is we get better results and we get a better ROI out of it. And that's what counts. If you need help with any of that, if you have questions about that, if you need help implementing any of these strategies, do me a favor. Feel free to send us a DM on LinkedIn or email me personally at this email address. It's jr@honeycombagency.co.uk. Before I close now and we wrap this up and we go to the Q&A, if there are any questions, make sure to check out honeycombagency.co.uk/free. Tons and tons of free sales materials, training programs, worksheets, sales scripts, everything that you need to make your performance better in your day-to-day sales. And that's it. That's a wrap from my side. Let me just check if we have any questions coming in that I can answer, or I'm supposed to answer. Fabulous. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. Tune in next week, Tuesday, 6 o'clock. I'm going to walk you through our sales script, what we call the 83,000 sales script. 83,000 pounds, I should say, sales script. Next week, live stream, I'll walk you through and I explain to you why it works so well and how you can apply it in your discovery calls or in your demos or in your sales conversations and sales calls in general. Thank you so much. This is Josef Reisz, Managing Partner at HoneyComb and SalesNation. See you next week. Thank you.